Good morning to everyone. I am Dr. Murali Krishna. So today I am going to explain to that syllabus is the engineering geology. So geology is one of the subject in the civil engineering. So we know about to that every civil engineering students to that geology component. So today I am going to explain to that a broad line of geology syllabus. So if you see the syllabus, now coming to the objectives. So the first objective is to introduce the course engineering geology to to introduce the course engineering geology to civil engineering graduates. So geology is the basic subject to understanding of for every civil engineers. Why? Because of in the civil engineer students will be able to work in that almost in that earth surface related works. So definitely they can know about to that geology. That is the first objective, and the second objective is that to enable the students understand the what minerals and rocks and their formation identification. So for example, if you see in that in the minerals and rocks, so minerals and rocks means they naturally occurring. So those materials, what type of formations is there, what type of occurrence is there, then how will be utilizing that in civil engineering construction purpose. So we learn about to that in the secondary objective. And third one is that highlight a significance and importance and role of engineering geology in that construction engineering structures. So engineering structures, it may be in the rocks they have the primary structures, we call it as the texture and composition and occurrence. In this means the construction means the secondary structures. It means the secondary structures means when the rock will be formed. So then the secondary structure of the formation of rock, they have happened to that secondary structures. That is, we call it as joints, folds, faults. So these are about to know about to that in the different civil engineering constructions. We know about to that different types of structures. And the final one is to that, so those knowledge, so geology gives you the systematic knowledge. So those knowledge we have to understand. So with the particular applications we have to apply into that in the civil engineering constructions. Like example is that we have to construction of dams, we have to construction of reservoirs, we have to construction of any tunnels. So those knowledge will be applicable to that in that particular subject. So now coming to that, these are the outcomes. So now coming to the outcomes, those outcomes whether the student able to know to that what type of minerals is there in the earth crust. So there is the two types of minerals is there. One is the rock forming, another one is the ore forming. So they can know about to that different types of minerals in that in the earth crust, and they know about to that different types of rocks. While formation of rocks in that while will be forming in the originated time, there is a single type of rocks that we call it as igneous rocks. Then alter to that in the sedimentary and metamorphic. They can understand to that different types of rocks, and then how where we utilize in that these type of rocks in the different civil engineering constructions. And finally they can identify to the different earthquake prone areas. For example, in the geology gives so different types of knowledge, systematic knowledge. So that means so the rocks will be originated times, and that by, for example, if you seen that in the origin of the earth, so in at the time of originated time, this is a in single continent and single ocean. So that is a single continent name is the Pangaea. So the single continent name we call it as a Pangaea. So we call it as a single continent and a single super ocean. That is this is the Pangaea. So this is called as a Panthalassa. After some time, after originated, sometimes they will be converted as a different continents, different oceans. So they can know about to that different types of earthquake prone areas identified to that based on the tectonic moment. So the student will be able to know, so while understanding of the different earthquake areas, and they prepare the maps. So why? Because of preparation maps, most of the civil engineering works is related to earth surface. So they can understand any remote areas, they don't want to go from the directly access to that, so they can take the topo sheet, then identify the suitable location, then prepare that what is the possibilities of construction. So these are the outcomes the students will be able to know. So while we study of this about the subject, while coming to the subject, while coming to the subject in the unit 1, there will be they able to know to the different types of branches of geology and the importance of civil engineering constructions and the different types of weathering materials. Now coming to the branches of geology. Geology is geo means earth, logy means some science. So geology is a branch of science. In that particular branches, they can divide it in the different various types. So for example, in the branches of geology, we know about the different types of branches, that is physical geology, mineralogy, petrology, structural geology, and stratigraphy, paleontology, engineering geology, hydrology. These are the different branches. In each branches, they have the specific importance given to that in the branches of geology. And importance of civil engineering. So geology is gives a systematic knowledge to, while learning of geology, it will be applicable to that in civil engineering constructions. Now coming to that weathering. So we know about to that in the earth surface is covered with minerals and rocks. Definitely in the different climatical situations, the rocks will be weathered. So those actions will be knowing, they can unable to understand the process of weathering. So definitely the construction will be failed. So in the weathering topic, we know about to that what type of weathering will be occur, then in the what type of actions will be going on in the future scenario. And the unit 2 is that mineralogy and petrology. In this unit, we know about to that so different types of minerals. So I am going to minerals. Minerals means mineral is a naturally occurrence. So naturally occurrence, definite chemical composition and atomic structure, so that we call it as mineral. So the number of minerals is component in the single component, we call it as rock. So mineralogy and petrology, we know about to that unit 2. So what type of minerals is there, so what type of rocks is there in the earth crust, we know about to that in the unit 2. So unit 3 is the structural geology. So in that unit 2, we already learned about to that in the primary structures, that is the texture, composition, occurrence in that different types of rocks. After formation of rock, there have number of changes will be occurred due to tectonical movement, so due to in the different climatical scenarios. So that we call it as a structural features, that we call it as a secondary features. So that is we call it as fold, fault, joint. In this unit, we know about to that different types of structural features. In the unit 4, the process, what type of process is going on to that the physical process in the surface and subsurface. So in the surface, we know about to that river, landforms of river, landforms of wind, landforms of glaciers. So that is the surface features. In the subsurface is the groundwater movement. So in the unit 4, we know about to that what type of movement will be occur, which is the zones is suitable for occurrence of water, which is the places will be frequently occurring the earthquakes or landslides, by using how they identified the earthquake prone areas by using of geophysical methods. So that is that different types of surveys where we occurred in the different types of water zones, while be seeing to that while using to that electrical method or seismic method. So different methods will be utilized. We have to find out whereas the water will be exactly occur. So that is the application we have to utilize in that unit 4. So the unit 5 is that, so whatever we are getting the knowledge in the unit 1, 2, 3, 4, so the knowledge will be applying to that in that unit 5. So that is that geology of dams, reservoirs and tunnels. So which is the places are suitable for construction of dams, which is the place for suitable for construction of reservoirs, tunnels. So that we learn about to that in the unit 5. So these are the entire syllabus will be consist to that the engineering geology. So these are the some of the reference textbooks. So we are thoroughly about to the understanding of engineering geology. So now I want to explain I want to explain to that branches of geology. So before going to the branches, we know about to that what is geology. So geology is the science of earth. So geo means earth, logy means some science. It deals with the different aspects. It means earth. So that is that how the origin of the earth, what is the structure of interior structure of the earth. So the entire history will be given through that. That is the geology. And that after formation of earth, they have two different surface features, like for example rivers, mountains, and along with their causes. For example, these are the general definition of geology. So now coming to that branches. So in the geology, the several branches is there. Most of the branches is related to civil engineering. Few branches is related to civil engineers, because of they can understand to thoroughly understanding of geology. So they are able to access to work in that surface related works. Why? Because of most of the civil engineering workings related to surface. So now coming to that physical geology. Physical geology is a branch of geology. It may be what type of process is going, natural process. Like for example, if you see, so natural process means for example landforms of rivers, and different glacial deposits, and landforms of river wind. So landforms of rivers, glacier deposits, landforms of wind. So for example, whether it is a civil engineering working that in the surface area, so those are the features we can understand to that. For example, landforms of rivers. So landforms of rivers, it means river will be originated into hilly area. They can travel to that up to bay. So they have different types of landforms will be identified to that. So in that area we have to working to that, definitely some conditions will be applied. For example, whether it is given to that any town planship to that in the particular area, so we have to identify in the nearest river nearest places whether it is any flood affected or not. So we have to consider to which is the places, the depositional features. So which is the erosional features. So we have to understand to that landforms. So we are able to access to working to that better way. So in the similar way, glaciers and landforms of wind. The physical geology deals with a natural process. So wherever working to that river environment or any wind environment or glacier environment, so those knowledge will be understand to that our constructions will be started. That is we call it as physical geology. So now coming to that mineralogy. So before going to the mineralogy, we know about to that mineral. So what is mineral? So mineral means a naturally occurrence. So definite atomic structure. They have definite atomic structure, then definite chemical composition is there. That we call it as mineral. So whether it is called as a mineral, definitely the mineral we call it as first naturally occurred. That whether it is, so the mineral will be occurred naturally, that we call it as mineral. So in that mineralogy we know about to that different types of minerals. So there are two types of minerals is there. One is that rock forming, another one is ore forming. So whether it is silica is there, that is called as a rock forming. So whether it is the minerals having some ore content, so for example iron ore, and different types of aluminum ore, different types of bauxite, these are the ore forming minerals. They have definitely different bore formations. For example, quartz, for example, quartz, calcite. These are the rock forming minerals. These are the iron. So these are the ore forming minerals. So this is the different types of minerals and composition and structure and appearance and occurrence and its associations. We learn about to that in the mineralogy. So now coming to the petrology. So petrology means the study of different types of rocks in the earth crust. So number of minerals. For example, when you call it as a rock, so 2 or 3 minerals is associated with one particular rock. So this is the one mineral. So this is another one mineral. So this is the another one minerals. So when you say the rock, so the combination of minerals we call it as rock. So in the earth crust, 3 different types of rocks is there. One is that igneous, another one is the sedimentary, third one is the metamorphic. In that particular petrology, we learn about to that. So what type of igneous rocks will be there, how it will be formed, then how will be converted as a sedimentary, then how it will be converted as a metamorphic. In that petrology chapter, we learn about to that different types of igneous rocks, different types of metamorphic rocks, different types of sedimentary rocks. So in this petrology deals with different types of rocks and their mode of formation and the different types of texture and structure and composition and occurrence. In this petrology, we learn about to that different types of rocks. And now coming to that structural geology. So in the petrology, we learn about to that in the primary structures. So the primary structures means when the formation of rock, that is the different types of textures will be formed. After formation of structures, due to tectonical activity, due to climatical changes, the secondary structures will be formed. The secondary structures means like fold, like fault and joints. So these are the secondary structure. So for example, if you call it as a fold, the undulation of rock strata, it will be the forces will be acted towards the rock body. They have to undulate into the different shapes. So that we call it as fold. So these are the secondary structures will be identified in the rock strata. So that in that rock strata we have to identify to that the structural geology. So this is a branch of geology deals with that different structures of rock in the earth crust. So that is the example is fold, fault, joints. And next one is that paleontology. So paleontology is a branch of geology. We are able to understand different types of fossils. So that we call it as paleontology. So these are the evidences for ancient lives. What type of ancient lives is there, what type of animals, what type of species is there in the earth crust. We are able to know that in the paleontology. And next one is that mining geology. So while geology knowledge is applying to that mining activities, so that is called it as mining geology. For example, how we will be cutting the different types of rocks. For example, if you working in the tunnel engineering, how you constructed the tunnels, how you cut the rock masses, they will be understand to that in that particular mining geology. Now coming to that engineering geology. Now coming to that engineering geology. So engineering geology is the branch of geology. So those knowledge, whatever knowledge we have to gain, those knowledge will be applicable to that in civil engineering construction. So that is that, for example, how you constructed the dams, which is the suitable place, so which is the favorable place construction of dams or reservoirs or any tunnels. So those knowledge will be applicable in civil engineering constructions, that we call it as engineering geology. And geophysics. So geophysics means the branch of exploration of different types of geophysical methods. For example, while we understanding of subsurface of in the geology, for example, in the earth having different types of interior structure. So in the topmost layer is the crust, mantle, core. So we know about the different types of rock formation, the subsurface. So we are able to understanding of different types of geophysical methods or resistivity survey, seismic survey. So the resistivity survey, seismic survey, it will be gives to that what type of exactly subsurface is there in that geophysics. And geohydrology. So most geohydrology is a branch of geology, is the most will be applicable in that civil engineering purpose also. For example, while we the irrigation engineer and the different environmental engineer concerns, they can know about to that surface and subsurface of hydrologies. So surface features, which means that rivers, lakes or canals, and subsurface means the groundwater. So in that, while the distribution system, which is the places the suitable favorable locations for construction of different types of groundwater levels, this is deals within that geohydrology. So these are the different branches of in the geology. Now coming to that, so this geology, how will be important to that civil engineering constructions. So while we understanding of geology, it may be useful for that different types of construction places. So geology is provides is that systematic knowledge. Systematic knowledge means while you understanding of physical geology, while we understanding of mineralogy, while we understanding of petrology and different types of branches of geology. So those knowledge we have to gain. So those applications will be applied in that civil engineering construction purpose. For example, in the physical geology, we are able to know to the different process of landforms, the different process of wind or glaciers, and that so those knowledge applying which is the suitable for construction, which is the non-suitable for construction areas. At the same time, different types of rock natures. For example, earlier we have to utilize in that rocks. That is the name is the condylite, which will be useful for that construction purpose. So if you have to see in our older buildings in the collected bungalows or any old hospitals, so they will be constructed as the stones. So the building stones also utilized in that different types of rocks and different types of road metals. So in that the knowledge will be gives in that civil engineering construction purpose. At the same time, the knowledge of groundwater, it is the necessary to connection in that excavation of works, water supply and irrigation and many other purpose we have to utilize. This is the geohydrology. And geological maps and sections will be considered into that planning of civil engineering part. So that is whether it is taken to the topo sheet. So the topo sheet will be gives in the vast knowledge. So while understanding of different features in the topo sheet, so which is the suitable for construction of dam or reservoir or any tunnels, it may be while understanding of that particular place directly not access for the directly go for in that field area. So though in particular time we have to utilize in that topo sheets. So that knowledge will be applied in that civil engineering purpose. And pre-geological survey of the area is concerned reduce the cost engineering work. For example, if you go for the directly field, so that is the traveling time and the entire area which is the suitable place in the directly in the physical reconnaissance survey is difficult for that. So if you go for travel one place to one place and travel to around to that particular area, we have to find out the suitable place, which is the suitable place is that is we called as a reconnaissance survey. But before going to that field, we have to take in the topo sheet, we have to identify the particular location and that which is the suitable for that construction. We are able to know to that pre-geological knowledge, then we have to visit. It will be reduce of engineering cost. So this is about to that entire geology and branches of geology. अब 5 चीज